Hey everybody, what's up? This is the first match from the WCOOP HeadsUp $530 buy-in tournament that I played, and I'm up against a pretty solid player. He's got a 9% ROI with an average game of more than $100, an average buy-in of more than $100, and he's got sort of 9-man statistics of about 19%. So this guy can play poker, and this was a reasonably tough match. Alright, limping as usual, trying to get a feel for his playing style. And we hit middle pair, so I'm going to have a stab. If you don't bet here, then bad things happen, namely their overcards hit, especially with the low middle pair. So stab, take it down. He min raises, and my view on this, which I've mentioned before, is I'm calling on pretty much any two cards, especially considering how deep we are. We're actually 150 blinds deep, so I think my implied odds are about 150 sort of times. So it's a pretty easy call for me if I'm getting like 150 to 1. Although he does have what's he got, like -1 big blind, so I'm getting 149 to 1 or whatever. Basically, you get the idea through my sort of garbled attempts at working out the odds that basically, when you're deep, call on any two cards, you're a remote chance to hit two pair, but it will pay off and you've got good implied odds. Alright, he checks, and if he had have bet, I probably would have check raised him there. It's not the sort of flop that he's likely to hit, and I'd like to push him off before an overcard comes to my fairly low top pair. But he didn't bet and give me the chance, and now I'm just going to fire at a bet. I've picked up a flush draw, top pair, and if he raises, obviously I'll be calling. He folds, and we move on. Limping 2-8, and here he bets. I've got no hand, no draw, no reason to call. He's only, it's only 3 hands in. He hasn't done anything silly yet as far as I can tell. So I won't be making any silly moves in return. Just try and play some solid poker for a bit. Folds pre-flop, and I'm thinking more tight aggressive. Well, actually I don't know about the aggressive. I'm thinking more tight than anything else at this stage. He checks, I fire, pick it up, and he really is looking reasonably tight. So what I'd be aiming to do would be to grind him down, stealing pots, pot after pot. Try a min raise here just to see what he's going to do, and he folds to that. So I think I'll be picking up my fair share of pots from min raising, and also 3x raising pre-flop. Probably on my worst hands I'd rather 3x to make sure I don't get called. I'll also be looking at his raising percentage as he min raises me again. This is not the sort of flop I would have thought he would have hit too often, but he's made a pretty decent bet at it, pretty decent stab, 150 into the 200 pot. Once again, no hand, no draw, no call, move on, nothing to see here. Alright, limp, and he checks, I stab, I take it down. I'll be stabbing there in position after he's checked 100% of the time pretty much, unless I've got a good reason not to, and I think there's a few hands coming up where I might not stab, where probably in hindsight it was an error. He's raising me 3x here, 7-4 I'm not going to call. Would have called maybe 7-5, the one gap suited connector, if it was, as I said, if it was connected. Limping my ace-8, take a stab, take the pot down. Lots of free chips to be had from stabbing. He raises, and even though we're deep, this is probably actually technically I should call, but I decide to fold it, getting a bit conservative in my old age. And here this is what I talked about before, making the 3x raise on a hand where I really don't want to get called, just to make sure I really don't get called. And I'd rather do that than min raise and then put myself in a tough spot. Here I've got the hammer, and he folds to the hammer 7-2. he knows that it's a mighty weapon, not to be trifled with. Limp my ace-5, and for some reason I decided not to stab at this one, and I guess because it was, I don't know, it's not that connected. I don't know really why I didn't stab at it, but I decided to check. And with the 8 on the river, there's now 2 pair with a king kicker. Most players, I can get some value here by betting my ace. Just throw out 50 and he folds, so he's being really tight at the moment. And folding again. Tighter than Binion's uncle, this guy. At this stage, he does loosen it later in the match. Here I fire out, I get called, and I don't know if a second barrel's good. First of all, there's no card that I can really represent that well. Second of all, if he does have some sort of draw like 2 spades or 10-9 or possibly queen 10, 7-9s, etc., I don't think I can push him off with a second barrel. We're deep enough that he'll probably call and try and hit a lucky card. So therefore I'm just going to give it up, hope to hit a king or a queen, which I don't. He checks it down and comes up with 6s. So on this particular hand I probably could have pushed him off, but I didn't know he had that. And I've got the Krabla, king 3, and he's being pretty disrespectful to my Krabla. He'd better sort of mend his ways or he'll lose this match for sure. And I've limped and he's 3x me. I will not be calling this on ace 6. Probably the worst ace I would call would be ace 8. Here we go, and now he shows some respect to the Krabla and he's mended his ways, so he's back in my good books. I try a 3x raise, not really wanting to be called. Do get called. I've picked up a piece of this, but it is a bit wet, meaning connected, and I fire at half pot. Immediate raise from him, and I'm not going to be fooling around here. That's good night, nurse. Paired board, which we love against tight guys. Bet and take it down. And limp with the ace 3. He checks. We stab and get called. And once again the board's got a bit drawy, so I can't really push him off. If he's got an 8 he'll call. Probably if he's got some sort of pair with either a jack or a queen, like for example 7 jack or 7 queen he's calling, or 10 jack or 10 queen. So it's just kind of got so connected that I don't think I can push him off any hands. I check it down and 5-5. Once again, I probably could have. That's one of the few hands I could have pushed him off, but I didn't know he had that. He limps, and I 4x, and he folds. I probably overplayed that a little bit too large. Alright, here we've hit a nice flush draw. He stabs out, and I think I'm just going to raise him straight away. He's a pretty tight player. I'm not worried if he calls me, and I don't think he's going to 3-bet me. I think the worst that will happen is he will simply flat call. And in fact he folds, so obviously he didn't have a particularly strong hand. If he calls, then obviously I'm semi-bluffing. I don't mind semi-bluffing against tight players. It's the aggro guys when you make that move and then they shove a heap of chips at you where it backfires. Min raise, and we hit another nice flop. He bets 150 and I do it again. Simply check raise him immediately and get the fold. I'm bullying him around a bit there. Alright, top pair, and I don't think the check raise would go down too well for the third time. I'm just going to flat on top pair, and I've got a lot of outs here. This is an interesting spot. The board is 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Obviously there's the obvious sort of straight draw there, but his 150 bet, just looking at his bet sizing, it really to me looks like a blocking bet saying please don't raise me. So therefore, being a contrary sort of person, I'm going to raise him, and he calls on a worse 2 pair. 2 pair, no good, you go home now. Alright, raising on my jacks, getting folds. I could probably be raising a little bit more pre-flop and picking up a few more blinds, but I don't want to overdo it. And here I try the 3-bet trick yet again. It's worked before, why wouldn't it work again? And the reason it wouldn't work again is because that 9 on the turn is just a horrific card. I put him on that middle pair. That 9 means that there's no way I'm getting a fold from him. Probably not getting a fold from a king either, because he won't believe I've got the 9. So I check it down, and when you look at the size of his overbet on the river, I suspect that he's got a full house. So it was an okay move. If the 9 doesn't come and he doesn't hit his second pair, I think I'm pushing him off this hand. But just didn't quite work out in that particular instance because the turn was a bit ugly. And he folds to my king 7. I think he's feeling guilty for winning a hand. And I checked this jury board simply because it's a little bit too connected. Anytime he's got a 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9, I think he's calling. And I just give it up. No, can't win every hand, though I'd like to. And we call his min raise. He bets, and we just flat. And now we've got obviously bottom pair and some sort of draw. Check on the turn, and on the river we're firing out a bet designed to make him sort of fold. Basically we're trying to represent, I guess, the queen of the 9. Don't want to get called by something like pocket 4s, pocket 5s, 6s or 7s. So yeah, basically bluffing here, and it works. Probably had the best hand, but all the same. And jack 3 again. We're going to keep on getting it, and we're going to keep on winning pots. This time jack 6. He min raises, we call, and for jack 6 of hearts, 3 spades, 10 high is pretty much a horrible flop, isn't it? He bets, we fold, and that's that. And I even fold my 8-2 offsuit. Not that I fold much pre-flop, especially this deep, but you know. And the paired board is min raise pre. That little 50 looks like either one of two things. Either he's very weak and he's about to fold to my raise, or he's very strong and he's not going to fold to my raise. In fact, he's going to win a big pot off me. So I think I'll just leave it alone. And limping with the king 7. Paired board. I don't really believe him. I think I can push him off on the turn. And the 9 is the card that I actually think he had, and when that comes I cannot push him off on the turn. So these 9s on turns are killing me. And here I try 3-betting his min raise, simply because he's doing it quite a lot. He started out tight, he's loosening up a bit, but that tightness is still the essential part of his nature, and he's happy to give it up. I think generally tight people are happy when they can fold, and I'm making him happy by making him fold a bit. He checks, I check behind. Think I probably should have stabbed, and it's a split. If I'd have bet, I suspect he would have called on his gut shot and backdoor flush draw, so probably save some money. Min raises, flat. I'm not going to try the 3-bet 2 hands in a row. That would be very clever. And just check this one down. And he had pocket kings. That's is a sign of a tight player. Never bets his pocket kings even once on the ace high flop. Alright, limp our king queen. He bets the over bet, and I'm having nothing to do with that. He's min raising, and I'm 3-betting him. It worked before, it worked again. Don't have to have good cards to do it against tight players, because they generally fold. Alright, limp, and I've hit middle pair. I get raised. I should fold, and I don't. and I'm in trouble, and I call, and guess what? He's got exactly what he said he had, top pair, and my call there was probably what you just call ordinary poker. And I'm lucky I didn't hit a 6 or something on the turn and lose an even bigger pot. So, play bad, lose chips. But you can't play every hand perfectly. I think you can learn as much from the hands that people play poorly as you can from the hands that they play well sometimes too. Here we've hit the bottom pair, and he's trying to represent the ace, and I'm saying, I don't believe you, and he's saying, well, I really have it, and I'm saying, no, you don't, and he's saying, you're right. So he pretty aggressive play there. Didn't believe my min raise, I guess it's my 3-bet, and after my 3-bet, he 4-bets me to say, I think you're FOS, and then actually 5-bet him and got the fold. So I think a little bit of leveling going on there. Limp my 10-3, and this is a sort of situation where if he did have the king, he would play it exactly the same time as last time, trying to get me to bluff him off it. But I'm not going to fall for that. Min raises, call with my 6s, try and hit something on the flop. Failed to do that. 10's not a good card for me, and he hit the 8 on the flop. Good on him. And you can see that he's starting to raise on some junk there. And he 4x's my limp, and his aggression level is getting much higher. Alright. And stabbing here. Don't believe him, so I'm going to try and push him off, and he's not going to try the 4-bet trick this time. So we can see he's taking stabs and getting quite aggressive in spots. His aggression level's really sort of increasing, and I think it's because I'm not making that many mistakes and I'm just grinding him down and being tough. This looks like a pretty good flop for me. He checks it, and I try and get some value. Foldsville. Limping with my 2-5. Looks like a really nice flop. Obviously I've got bottom pair, I've got the flush draw, I bet, and just going to check it down, and probably being passive there on the turn has induced this action from him, which is not really what I wanted. But on the other hand, every time he's called me, he's always had something, so I'm probably behind, and I've just got to fold. Min raise, call, stab out, and he flats me ace. So if he was flatting me on an ace, which is pretty typical there, now nothing I can do. Got to give it up, and he actually had the queen. Just a bit of bad timing there. I don't mind my play. I just think the timing was poor, and it's a plus EV play anyway, because now he's seen me bluff for sure. We can good things will happen when I hit a hand. Not bothering to bet this flop. He is call there, thinking that he's probably taking advantage of me, and he's not. He called an a6, hit pretty much the nuts, didn't even bet it on the river. I made a pretty horrible call, thinking that this sort of board was not in his calling range of a 3x raise. I thought he'd probably be, trying to take a stab here, and to put it simply, I was wrong. Alright, min raise, and give it up. So back to pretty much the start. All my good work's down the drain, and that's poker, I guess. We just got to stay tough and get back into it. We call, we hit a gut shot, and I'm going to bet here and see what's going on. I could well be ahead. It's a pretty drawy board. I could get a fold. I bet, I get raised, and that's the end of that one. Here I raise 3x, get called. I've hit top pair. I bet and get raised, and I really don't believe him. I should have re-raised him a lot more aggressively there, I think. He checks on the turn, and now I'm really thinking flush draw. When someone bets this sequence, the raise and then the check, thinking flush draw, should have bet more here. I wish in hindsight I bet like 700 or 800. He calls the queen on the river. So the good news is I think he's got a flush draw, and the flush draw is hit. I also think I can fold him off. He's made a weak blocking bet here, and I try a huge raise saying I've actually got the 4, and your flush is no good, but you're not going to push him off. So I really did at the time think he had that flush draw, just from the way especially he checked the turn. Should have bet more on the turn. That was an error, and it cost me a monster pot. And now he's almost got a 2-to-1 chip lead or thereabouts, but coming back from sort of poor situations is one of my better skills. Pocket queens, be lovely to get some action here. We raise, he folds. Nice timing, sir. And now he raises. See a flop, and it's not a very nice flop for our queen 9. So we should give it up. And things aren't going so well, but I'm going to do what I always do in these situations. I'm going to be patient, and my spot will come. Alright, pocket 2s. He bets. I'm just flooding him here because I'm not so convinced that he's strong. And I try and take it off him. Doesn't work. And the 2 on the river, he's checked to me. I don't really want to put myself in a difficult position. If I bet here, he could raise me with or without the 6 or the ace. So I'm just going to check it down, and my 2 plays. And I didn't think he was that strong when he bet on this flop, and he wasn't, which is why I called on my pocket 2s. Alright, stab, get raised on the paired board, and give it up. We've been there before. Don't know if he's bluffing me or not. Raise with my 10-7 and pick up a free blind. And he mins. This is a good looking flop. Don't mind this. Question is how to get the most chips from him. He's attacked every time he's been in this situation, so I check. He bets. Just a little min raise and nothing doing. I thought for a min raise I might get something out of him. Never mind. He obviously just completely whiffed. Raise my ace 10, pick up a pot. Call on queen 7. I think I'm still deep enough to make that, for that call to be okay. Another ace high board, and this one I haven't hit a set on. Raising, trying to pick up some pots. The hammer, which we fold. You've got to know when to wield the hammer, and that wasn't the time. Good players know that sort of thing. And here we've got the nut flush draw, betting and picking it up. And he folds my ace king, which I can tell you I wasn't sort of overjoyed about at the time. I was kind of hoping to hit the monster pot there. Getting a bit more aggressive now, and I bet 180 into this pot, get min raised. But he's become a lot more aggressive, not folding top pair now. Bets 240 on the turn, and as I said, still not convinced. And 360 on the river. What has he got? I think he would bet more with an 8 here or a flush. That's the first thing, simply because he's been betting, when he actually hits really good things, he's been betting a lot more aggressively. He'd be betting like 700 or 800 here with either of those, I think. So basically I'm going to look him up. I do, and he's got a busted flush draw, and good things have just happened. I'm back in the match. Pretty cool call, I think. I mean, you might think I'm just being a calling station, but just didn't look realistic. Here we hit, he checks, trying to get some value, and he's out of there. Alright. So this is a tough match. I started this match at 2:30 in the morning, and I've been up obviously all day, and it was feeling tough at the time. Here he raises me, and he's been getting a lot what's the right expression? He's been getting a lot more out of line, really. Maybe a little bit impatient. And that's another example of it. So he started out tight and he's getting a little bit spewy now. I think the pressure of the match is getting to him. And here we've actually hit something. That's nice. Flat. Check, check. Go for value. Miss. Maybe I should have raised on the flop. And raise on my 10-2. Have a stab, get called. Heart would be nice, please. I'm going to check behind, see if I can hit it. And bink. You beautiful, beautiful 8 of hearts. Overjoyed to see you. You've just saved my bacon, the old runner trick. I had air, and now I have pretty much the nuts. Looks like he's trying to block me. Huge overbet. And that should look a bit suspicious. Look very bluffy to him. And he folds. I guess I shouldn't have been so greedy. Maybe if I just 3x'd him. I tried. It was an idea, but maybe it's the wrong player. He's a bit tight for that sort of thing. Alright, he bets. I fold. It's min raising, calling wide. Sort of flop you wouldn't think you would hit. That's why I raise him on it. He calls me. And I'm giving up. Maybe I should have fired the turn, who knows. Alright, limp on my ace-10. Stab. Get called. That's a jolly good card. So time for the second barrel. And we get the fold this time. Maybe that second barrel would have worked earlier in the match. Middle pair. Raise him straight away and get the fold. I think maybe my 3x raises are better than my min raises there. And still trying these paired boards, and he's still pushing me around on them. And, you know, obviously if I hit one I'd just bet out and try and get him to do the same thing. And he bets 120. I flat him. Why do I flat him? Because I don't think he's got anything. And now he bets 240, and I have to fold, so perhaps my views were wrong. Limping my ace-jack. Another paired board. Checking behind this time. Flatting because I don't really think that's such a likely card for him to have. And now when he bets 120, I should fold. That button next to call, not call, and I do it. Alright. And Jack 3, nothing going in this pot, and he can have it. Raising with my 7-3 offsuit, getting called a bit much, probably should slow the raises down, take a stab and pick it up though, so raising is reasonably successful against this guy. He's still min raising. This time I'm going to 3x him. I get called, and this is a pretty interesting flop. At least I can represent the ace, and if I get flattered I can then maybe pick up like my gut shot or something. That would be lovely. But we get the fold, and that works just as nicely. And we've now got the lead, the hammer, which I choose wisely to fold. It's all about timing when you've got the hammer. And he's 3xing. I'm going to fold my ace-4, not good enough to call. And being quite aggressive now against him from my button. Call his min raise. Flop, quite a nice looking draw. And that's a good card. Bet. And now the question really is, how much value can I get? Try for just 180. Get looked up. And he had 2 pair. He checks. I stab. I get called. I try the second barrel. Nothing's working, and now I try, and first of all I'm pretending I've got a king, then I'm pretending I've got an ace, and now I'm pretending I've got a jack. And surprisingly, he calls me down pretty comfortably because my bluff was absolute shite. I mean, it's just so inconsistent that he's never going to fall for that, so that was just poor play in every sense. Alright, get check raised here. I think we'll call with our overcard nut flush draw, not getting the chips in here. Calling with my gut shot, and he had top pair. Lovely. The three of hearts, that would have given him 2 pair and me the straight. How much action would I have got then? Never mind. That was close. And he min raises. I 3x him. He folds. Take a stab. Pick it up. And this match has gone backward and forth. And as I said, tough match. It felt really tough at the time, but I think these are the sort of matches that members should really watch, because watching us beat up drillers, it's useful. You'll come across a lot of drillers, but on the other hand, you also need to be able to beat the tough regs, and this guy's a really tough reg, really. Picked up 2 pair, try getting some value, and don't. Alright, raising again. He's min raising, that's an easy call for me. Horrible flop. And take a stab at the horrible flop. And now I've got bottom pair, I've been called. This is an interesting spot. He will call me a lot on draws, so my 4 could be good. And in fact, he just called me on 2 overcards. I was lucky to bink, of course, but I mean, he didn't look particularly strong. I think that was a pretty horrible call from him, really. And we've got nothing here. Ace Queen has completely whiffed the flop. Alright. And we've got a 8-5. Hit 2 pair, we stab, he folds. Nice timing, sir. Folding my 10-2. Don't really like hands that have got 2s in them. And now I think, maybe if I stab at the turn, that's better. I've got some showdown value though, so let's see how we go. And I just fold that up. I don't think I'm good there. So I'm not just a complete station, I do know how to fold as well. Here he 3x's me, my 3-4 is not looking too strong right now. I think we'll just throw that away. Alright, take a stab, get called, check, and give it up. So he's become a lot more stationary, I think. And certainly getting more aggressive in spots. Alright, good board to stab, firing the second barrel, and binking on the river, just going for a bit of value, and he folds. So I'm not really sure what he had there, but it helps. Once again a paired board, not going to bother. I've learnt not to stab these because when I have, he's always raised me, or quite frequently. Calling with 3-5 for the implied odds, missing, and having a stab. So I remember this sort of bet came up earlier. Either he's got a very strong hand or a very weak one, and I'm willing to bet that it's that my 3-5 is not good. Turned out to be the weak one with that bottom pair. One more barrel and I would have got him off that. Ish. Misplayed that. Should have fired the second barrel. Looking at that in hindsight, I bet you I probably was kicking myself at the time too. Alright. He bets, we fold, and part of winning these matches is not making more mistakes than your opponent and basically being more patient and outlasting him. I've got no serious edge against this guy. He's obviously a very good player. He's not making huge mistakes, and I've just got to wait and wait. And here I'm taking a stab and picking that up. So that tightness, I can take down a lot of pots. I'm raising quite liberally, as you can see, 9-2. The blinds are worth taking down. Stabbing, getting called, second barrel, and taking it. Excellent. And I just wish in this match, in hindsight, that I'd fired a few more second barrels. Alright, so this is an interesting spot. We've got our sixes, which could well be good in this spot. We bet, get raised. And we're flooding him. That king's really a horrible card. The sort of hand that he will raise is a king. And now that he bets half pot, tricky spot. And luckily I caught him bluffing. I knew he'd been bluffing those raises on paired boards. Alright, calling. And I should probably stab there, but I've got showdown value, and we split it. Betcha he takes it with a better kicker. I bet you the stab would have been the better option there, I think. Alright, more raising 3x, and I'm doing this because he doesn't 3-bet me very often, and he does fold quite a lot. And on this flop, 2 overcards, backdoor flush draw, but it's so connected, can't do anything with that. Raising again, and I tend to be raising my junk and limping my decent hands, trying to pick up a monster flop, and he won't put me on such a good hand. Take a stab here, get called, and I'm actually good, believe it or not. So he's gotten a lot more stationy. My constant stabbing, I think, is getting to him. I'm not going to stab this, too easy for him to call. And fold my ace-jack. So I've had a lot of nice hands like ace-jack, ace-queen, ace-10, and I don't think any of them have hit. And now I'm going to fire the second barrel because he's proven that firing the second barrel is correct. And I check it down, and his 8's good. Well, I'm not really happy there, but on the other hand, I'm not too unhappy because firing the second barrel was something I should have been doing a lot more. Just because he happened to have top pair there doesn't mean it's a wrong play. Alright, we stab and get called, and he really is a lot more stationy now. And he's hitting, of course, as well, so that helps. I mean, maybe that's just my feeling, he's a lot more stationy. And finally, we hit one of our good hands. Check it because he should be betting. He doesn't. Stab and get called, and 6 on the river. What I'm going to do here is look weak and hope to get some value out of him, and even better, he's gun barreling over the top. Now if he's got the 3 or a flush or a full house, I'm going to feel pretty silly, but I've got to think I'm good here, 8 or 9 times out of 10. So instant call, and he was just bluffing me. I think that my bet sizing made me look weaker than I was. And we've got a flush draw and a gut shot, and we have missed, but 10 high is good. So that works. Alright, pocket 2s, and not going to stab, just going to flat call, and now I'm having a crack, and he raises me, so that hasn't worked so well, and that raise into this pot, I mean, I just can't think it's anything but he's got something like King 9, picked it up on the turn, I would suspect. Alright, limping, and nothing doing there. So just staying tough, grinding him out. I mean, this match, we've been around these levels forever. As I said, no discernible edge. And all you can do is play good poker. I stab on the turn, I get called. I fire on the river, and I get the fold, so the second barrel worked. Ace King, raise me please. Nope. Paired board, not going to bother. He just bets 80, I'm going to call him. I've got the gut shot, 2 overs, and he hit the full house on the river, managed to get minimum value for it. Pretty ordinary play, really. Pocket tens. Haven't had many pocket pairs, it feels like. And I'm going to raise him. Get called. Just check there. Now it's time to bet in case he's got some sort of ace, which I do. And the king's not a very good card. But he had nothing. I think I played that a bit weak, really. Alright, limp my ace queen, call. And that's a good flop. Queen high. I've got ace queen. I'd be happy to get the chips in here. I raise him big. He calls me. 7 of spades on the turn. He checks, and I am a little bit worried here. I think I'm going to slow down. The reason I'm slowing down is I don't like the 3 spades. I want to see the river. And pretty innocuous looking 3. He bets 480. I think I should be ahead here, but I'm not going to raise just in case. And he has quite a mystifying Queen 7, so hits his 3-outer on the turn. Nice play, sir. And I think really I lost the least possible amount of chips I could there. I mean, other people might well have gone broke in that spot. Alright, calling with 9-3. And I got bottom pair. I'm not going to fold there. He checks it down. I'm going to check it in case he wants to make a bluff at me, which he does. That's very kind of you, sir. Thank you. So he's really loosened up quite a lot now, and spewing a lot harder than he was at the start of the match when he was super tight. Got a gut shot, and I think 240 is too much to pay, because if the 9 or the ace comes, I'm not really going to get any chips out of him. Raising still, being quite aggressive pre-flop. Flat here, paired board, and I think my ace should be good here. Just bet 80 on the river and get the fold. Alright, raising 3x on my 2-4, and that works. I want to take down the blind, and I do. And maybe I should have stabbed there, but chose not to. That's alright. Neither here nor there. Alright, and we're going to 3-bet him here with ace king, and nice looking flop. Here I'm doing my sort of wounded fish. Not going to bet too much, like 600 or something. I'm going to look weak. I bet 300 hoping he'll raise me, which he does, and I shove him hoping he's got a worse king. Maybe that wasn't the best play because he folds straight away. Maybe 4-betting him might have been better. But that's hindsight. If he calls on, King Jack, then I made the right play. He checks, I stab and pick it up. So we've got a bit of a lead here. He limps and got a gut shot, stab, pick it up. And this has been a tough match. I mean, a lot of hands where I've got nowhere. King on the river, that's a nice card, and I think I'm going to raise him for value. Bet fold. If he raises me aggressively, I'll give it up. And my king was good. That was some pretty nice value I got there. Bit tight, but I'm happy about it. Bet out 2, get called, and give it up. So we've got him down to 4.5 thou. But of course, that's quite a lot. That's 45 big blinds. He's not going anywhere yet. In raise, I'm deep enough to call, and I'm deep enough to miss completely. Raising on 5-6, and we're going to check behind because I think that's going to hit his calling range. I mean, there's 2 clubs on the board as well. Hard to get a fold. When he gets 100 here, embarrassingly, I just can't even call it. Raised 3x, can't call 100, getting 6-1. Kind of funny. Alright, take a stab, get the fold. So stabbing out works really well against this guy. Now I've got a flush draw. This time I'm just flat calling it. And I'm sure he's got a 9 here. At the time I really thought he had a 9, and I probably should fold, but I'm getting 4-1, isn't it? So I decide to call. and luckily he had actually the 5, so that was a very handy pot. And we've got 9-2, take a stab, we've got the heart draw as well. Let's fire the second barrel, get called, and that 2, can't complain about that, probably saved my bacon here. Just a little bit of value, get called, and obviously middle pair there, didn't want to give it up, and he's gone a bit stationary on me really. And he's raising 3x, not good enough to call that. So we've got him crippled here. Gut shot. We miss. We hit. Can we get 100? Yes, we can, with the donkey end of it. Alright, and that's a good turn. I can represent that. Just going to flood him, see if I can get some more value, which I can't, so he was just taking a stab. And here we've got middle pair and the draw. I bet on the turn and get raised. Don't like that queen. I think he's probably hit, it looks like he might have something like 6 queen or maybe even 2 pair. I call hoping to hit, and I don't, and he's actually got queen 5. That was a very possible and probable hand for that raise, but I had a lot of outs still, or so I thought. Alright, pick up a fold, and calling, hitting, don't like this, that got ugly, and luckily I've got showdown value, and pick it up. Pocket 8s, and if he had a raised I would have got it in, especially seeing I hit one. Take a stab, get called, and how can I get the most chips? Raising's not it. Dolt, I wish I had have flattered him now, but never mind. When you look back, you do when you're at sort of in the heat of the moment, you do what you think's right, and when you look back after it hasn't worked, obviously you wish you tried another option. But if it had worked, then I would have thought, how clever am I? So, that's the way it goes. Alright, flat call him on 4-5. Flat call his raise on 4-5. Miss the flop. Give up. And it's been a tough match. This match goes for 189 hands. And I'll give this one up. That's a long match. 3x him here on 10-5. Just trying to cripple him a little bit, sort of slow him down, get the fold. That was good. And if he shoves here, probably going to fold. And he's folding again. I think my 3-bet there might have slowed him down. Maybe I should have stabbed. Now I do and get the fold on the turn. So he's gone into his box a little bit. And we've got middle pair. Just call. That's probably, that's a mixed blessing. And now I'm just betting to control him really. And he was just stabbing out. Min raise, and he's low. We call his min raise. He's 30 big blinds. That's good enough. And he can take it. And I'm not going to play the hammer. Try limping. If he raised, I'd shove him on ace-jack, I think. And I tried the oversized bet to look a little bit bluffier, and that didn't work. Alright, and not the best flop. We stab, he calls, and we can't even continue for 300, so we have to fold. Never mind. Alright, and now we're 3xing him again. Punish those min raises. Basically, if he calls this, he's going to be pretty pot committed, and he's going to have a hand to do that, which he doesn't. So I like 3xing or 3-betting the tight aggressive guys, because they will fold. And give that one up. Top pair, very drawy board, make him pay on the turn, horrible river, blocking bet, and we had the same hand, thank goodness. And we've got a gut shot, we call, we hit our gut shot, check it down for deceptive purposes. He bets 300, and we're just going to flat call now. Maybe that was me being a bit tight, I don't know, but that 300 bet, I mean, you know. Alright, ace king, please raise. He didn't. And min raising, picking up pots, keeping the pressure on him and getting good cards. Folds my 10-10, really nice timing. And now I'm just trying to put the pressure on him and hit a monster. And maybe, in hindsight, I think clearly a check there was better. Tight guy, I shouldn't have bet. I should let him catch up a little bit. Still min raising and grinding him down. And I feel like I'm really putting him under a lot of pressure here. He 3-bets me so he can have it. Call this. And gut shot and overcard, I call. And good news and bad news. Just for a bit of pot control, I bet 200 and get called by ace jack. So that kind of sucked. And here we get to the last hand of the match. Min raise, shove, and this is his first shove. I mean, honestly, a lot of the time I'd fold this, but I think the match has gone so long that I just really want to see, you know, I'm willing to take my chances by this time. I mean, it's like an hour and a bit later, and he's got 2 overs, good shape on the flop, nice turn, just got to avoid the 6 outs on the river, and that's beautiful. The match is over. He was a really tough opponent. I felt that was, I mean, really hard to grind him down. He was tight. He sort of opened up later on. I had a lot of good cards, but they never hit. But eventually I just toughed it out and got him. So I hope you've enjoyed this one, and the next video will be the next match in the competition. Until then, I hope you run good.